Hello, this is the final boss, and this is the weak and the weary. So we are going to be doing a review or a edit today of one of our submissions. One of our viewers was kind enough and sent in some stuff for an edit. So tonight's the night. We're going to be reviewing it. And then we'll probably do the first 10 pages or so, and then when we wrap that up, probably play a little bit of games or something, you know. You know. All right. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump in. She exhausted all of her strength, and her form became that of a small child. So I like that we're starting with a quote. Um, so I'll put this in. Like that we start with a quote. The phrasing seems a little odd. Try something like, "Here comes my favorite part," I whispered to my dad, who was sitting next to me. He's paying a lot of attention, even though he had heard it so many times. My mother continued, though it seemed unwise, it was what the Prince of the Sky had to do to save the earth below. No one knew what happened to her now mortal form, but they all praised her. A celebration was held in her memory, and they lived happily ever after. Okay, bedtime, Miss Missy. Let me out of bed and put the covers over me. Love you. Drifted off to sleep. I hated that story now. I made it my mom read it every day back then. So I think it's a good transition here. So like good jump ahead transition. Um, um, Glad we moved to conflict. Part of life quickly. Remember it was years ago. I still remember like it was yesterday. I hated that story now. Um, Not sure. You know, not enough. This is a fine hint to give the reader, but feel like the flashback wasn't so necessary. Um, like how did going back, to that moment change my experience of this scene? It's like some of it is like, okay, if I jump all, if I, I'm start, you're starting your story in the past. That's a big thing, right? You're starting in a story in a flashback. You're putting yourself not at a disadvantage, but you're putting yourself at the in a more challenging spot. And then what happens here is that we jump ahead, and then the flashback doesn't really seem to impact the main scene except to give a little bit of context, and context isn't enough. Yes, the flashback gives us context, but context isn't enough to merit. Context alone. Merit flashback. Um, so yeah, so the act of remembering should impact because this is essentially what you're saying, right? It's like this girl had a dream about the way she would fall asleep with her parents before, but she just says, "Oh, I don't like that anymore," you know. But the act of remembering that scene should impact the scene she's in now. So, that's one of the times that flashbacks actually work really well is when whatever is revealed in the flashback changes the outcome of the scene that's happening actively. Drifted out of bed and slowly get ready for my first day of boarding school. Never been to one before. My parents said the best option would happen at my last school. I don't think I did it, and I'm not sure how I could have done it, but yeah, so I see what you're doing. Like I this context is helpful, but it feels a bit jarring. Um, do we need to know this all right now? At, yeah, so I feel like we're trying to give a lot of information here, and it's making the read a little bit more clunky, but we'll keep going. I muttered good morning to my parents, said goodbye to my dad as he left for work, sat down on the table with some toast. So her dad's still alive. I thought something was, I thought the reason this character wasn't going to like that old story was because maybe one of their parents passed away. It doesn't seem to be the case, which is good for that character, but again, makes that initial flashback feel like it's like, okay, well, it really needs to earn its place. It really needs to have a reason to be in the story. To start the story, especially. Are you excited about your first day? My mother asked me, shook my head. What if something happens while I'm gone? Well, it'll be all right, I promise. I went to Yaxley's when I was your age. I never knew that at school might have changed a lot. So I don't know if we need to have the I never knew that. So again, like, wow, like, I don't know a teenage girl that ever is like, wow, mom, that's awesome, except when they're being sarcastic. Don't think I can recall a teenager saying, wow, uh, unless they're being sarcastic. What's a more organic way to say this? Yeah, I would say the school might have changed a lot since then. I would just cut it like that and go like this. I would just do that. Just easier, maybe. So again, this is not much conflict. So again, like the mother agreeing here isn't much conflict. I want to get hints of what's going wrong. Maybe the mother says, "Oh, you never give things a chance." Or something like that. Like, because I want to start getting hints of, okay, what's the conflict? Why are things awry? Because in a novel, the world has to start in a broken place, right? Like, it's sort of like, what is broken about this world that, um, we will learn about, and we will learn the way it kind of comes back together and becomes whole again. After breakfast, my mom drove me to Yaxley. It took longer than I expected. My parents were only somewhere away from my bully and my family. So again, jaw fell open is a very commonly used phrase. Um, unless, this is really organic to the character's way of talking. Consider trying something different. It was huge. It was as big as a castle with many windows and stone bricks, and I stared at it wide-eyed. Once we parked, I stepped out of the car and looked up at the towering school above me. Other kids were getting out of cars around us, and some of the older-looking ones were meeting friends. So my mom was taking bags out of the car. I decided to meet some people and make some friends. So I don't know if this, given that this character is suspicious about, this this new school, um, would they be so confident about walking up to a group of folks with the intent of making friends? I mean, that's like, at least from my blurred recollections of, high school and college and stuff like that. It's like that's kind of one of the really, really difficult things to do is to walk up to a group of people completely cold and start up a conversation. It's doable, and you do it, but you're not like I'm gonna make friends. It's that's tough. An easy target. I don't think we need the walked up to him. We already kind of know. Uh, if she says hi, walked up is implied. Yes, you can sometimes cut those connecting tissue pieces and save yourself a little bit of extra, a few extra words, right? And that does make a difference over the course of a novel. Hi, he said back, seeming to wonder why I was talking to him. So I will say this dialogue feels a little stilted. So one, like this like hyper analyzation is like pretty. So so there's a few pros and cons to jumping into a character's thoughts really quickly. I think there are some pros in terms of, this is telling me this character is hyper analytical. Um, Interesting to see the hyper analytical. Hello, Maya Arch. Welcome, 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 and good to see you. The character, but jumping into a like thought bubble, inherently slows down a scene's pacing. Is it worth it here when a shorter version of this might do? Editing, I see. Yes, indeed. So this is a viewer submitted novel. Doing the first, gonna do about 35 minutes going through this, and then kind of summarize my thoughts, and then we're going to be doing a review of a video game as well. So if you ever want your projects edited on this stream, feel free to send it over to Final Boss Editing, and we'll make it happen. Um, do you do any writing or storytelling or any of those things? I also like Minecraft. So like for being so analytical, this feels a little on the nose. Maybe something more specific, like if you like the new like the patch came out last week. Something like, did you like the patch that came out last week? Finally balanced Ender Dragons, and he'll be like, yeah. And then again, like we could be friends. Yeah, we could be friends if you want to make it seem real. So again, I'm kind of confused about why is she so mechanistically making friends? Like, um, dialogue still seems a bit off, and I'm beginning to feel like I need context. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It would be on stream though. So that's what I always let people know. I try to, I have paid edits and stuff that are generally private, but I try with the free edits that I do for folks to make sure that, it can be a learning for everybody, right? Because I think that, you know, seeing someone's work edited, that's why I edit my own work on stream, is like a really, really valuable tool for a writer, especially someone that's learning. And so, yeah, we want at least I figure that hey, we can contribute to that and kind of hopefully get some good tips over to those writers as they work on their projects. Phoenix, I smiled. It was too easy. Please, she started. She looked very old, but her voice had a strange. Yeah, I would start with parents and students maybe. We walked through the doors into the dining hall. The place looked like it was ripped straight out of a Harry Potter book, but the stairs didn't move, and neither did the paintings. All the kids. Yeah, I like this humor. I think this is fun. This feels like it's in the voice of the character. I like this humor. It feels in the voice of the character, like, like this is something should say. It's a good way to do interiority. Make that interiority sound like it's organic to who that character is. All the kids and parents took seats at the many tables scattered around the huge room as the lady walked up to a slightly raised table at the front of the room. So we're getting a lot of mechanics, a lot of like really like took seats here, moved there. I think it's reasonable. It just other teachers were sitting there as well, but the attention was on the lady. Sometimes instead of saying that lady, you can say, you know, um, try a paraphrase nickname. Um, instead of that lady, the main character can call her fancy dress. Something like that. So like giving like, like it's like when someone passes you or cuts you off in traffic, you don't generally say, "Oh, that gentleman over there cut me off." You say that knucklehead cut me off, or that freaking, that goose cut me off, or whatever other choicer word one generally chooses in when getting cut off in traffic. So, you know, don't hesitate to leverage that. Make sure that um, you know that's something that we do organically, and if you can include that in your writing and make it more specific, it can always help. I walked inside the middle of the crowd next to my new friend. He talked about Minecraft the whole time. I was starting to ask him to be my friend, but I was warming up to him all the same. Well, wouldn't he think she knew all this? Would the kid think she knew all this? And what else did she expect? Talking, when setting out to make a friend with Minecraft Kid. Yeah, I mean, some of the interiority and what the character is doing in the scene don't necessarily match up. The lady person was talking. Say goodbye to Kevin and walk to the girls' dormitories with my mom. Introduce me to 3 other new girls I'd be sharing with. Their name Molly, Darla, and Nausicaa. Oh, nice. From Studio Ghibli? I actually need to watch. I've watched clips of Nausicaa, but I have not gotten through the whole thing. I've watched pieces of it. I've been a slacker, I guess. Well, unpacking and our parents also got along well. Once we were done, we split up to explore the castle. I mean, for someone who's getting tired of Kevin, like she still is like strangely hanging out with him a lot. It's kind of mean, like which is fine, like at this phase for a character to be kind of a knucklehead, but this character is kind of being a jerk to Kevin. Poor Kevin. How does her mom know to add Kevin? I'll see you at Christmas. So again, this is a little bit on the nose, right? So, and this is kind of what we've talked about even about character intros, right? Is like I won't remember as Taylor being the popular girl, you know, if someone says, "Oh, that's the popular girl, that's the mean one, that's the whatever," because you don't really, I mean, just like this character's kind of ignoring Kevin, you don't really listen to what someone verbally describes something as quite as well. Let Taylor make an impression. Let Taylor come in with the coterie of people following her and saying, "Oh, like, what do you think about my shoes?" And Taylor's like, "Terrible." Whatever that may be. Um, you know, uh, naming a character as the popular one is always going to be less effective than showing them basking in their popularity. People, following them and, begging for autographs. I thought bullies were supposed to be blonde, but Taylor had. But how does she know she's a bully? Something had rattled my memory. Okay, weird. So, how does she know she's a bully? Are all popular kids bullies? I would just be specific there. She called herself the Queen of the Astral Plane. Morior, and that's her last name, but no one calls her except her friends. The Astral Plane and Queen Morior. Racked my brains where I'd heard them. Was where she liked to hang out. So that's fun. I like the idea that this that this fairy tale that she heard as a kid is blending into real life, right? I think this is a cool concept that the fairy tale that the MC heard as a kid might just be blending into real life. Mm-hmm. I needed a plan. So wait, okay, so I'm a little surprised. Like she seems to really think this is. If you're making a plan, you think this is a threat, right? So I'm a little surprised about her being like, "Oh, that's a weird coincidence." Towards like Taylor is a problem. I need to make a plan and figure out what the heck is going on. That seems like a pretty big jump. Um, yeah. Um, this makes feel like she's, jumping to the conclusion that something actually magic is going on pretty early. Consider just, yeah, this doesn't feel organic quite yet. It's an exhausting math lesson. Kevin and I walked down the dining hall for lunch. Food was better than public school food. There were options. Okay, builders had a party. Okay, I'll finish. Let's see, is there another section here? I'll go quickly through this section and then I'll probably summarize my thoughts. I thought I would be entertaining plant seeds and catch. Entertaining to plant seeds. Okay, first, I'd like to plot today study of herbology. I thought it would be interesting to plant seeds and talk about photosynthesis for an hour and a half. I was finally done with lessons for a day. There were a few comfy rooms that were free to use. Kevin and I were talking to each other. So Kevin is feeling very one note, right? Like we haven't seen anything unexpected about Kevin. Um, from his shirt to his conversation, he's, only expressing one thing. It might help to hint at his depth. Maybe he's an herbology genius. Or just like knows tons of other stuff. Yeah, so what are those things that can make these characters stand out and be a little bit more than our first impression, right? Because everybody, our first impressions of people are always very, very limited. And so it's worth saying, hey, is there a step I can take to kind of bring that depth out a little bit sooner? So again, this is kind of like extreme, right? So I'm glad that there's conflict. So I think we've been missing some conflict for a little bit. So glad that some conflict is coming in, but this seems so extreme. I'm shocked that, no adults, notice this, or teachers or whatever. Yeah, or like staff or teachers. No, like staff or teachers or even janitors. Yeah. Will you shut up? I wanted to befriend her, but I could never be friends with someone like this. So again, these are kind of yeah, these in this interior thought, like the friendship interior thought is verbal doubling here, just by the fact that the main character is confronting Taylor, we know that friendship is going out the door. Stating it again here just feels like we're recapping when we don't need to. All right. You're still talking to me? Confusing me. It's very confusing. So there's two issues, there's two kind of issues I'd say. The conflict fades so quickly here. It feels like we lost an opportunity. Also, this exchange feels uh, a bit confusing and unnatural. Even if Taylor was somehow compelled by magic, to, want to befriend the main character, that at least, call it out or resist it. Okay. All right. So what are my thoughts? I think honestly, great stuff overall. So overall, we'll just do little bullet points here. It'll be easy. Single spacing. All right. Overall, the good. Like the world and the concept, and the concepts of, I found it out, Jeff, of magic, blending between fairy tales and reality. I think, the main character seems, complex and fraught. She's been in fights, but she's also trying to, help her parents. Things to improve. Now look for ways to include conflict a lot earlier in scenes. Maybe the MC doesn't want to go to this new school, and debates her parents. Some of like the dialogue I think needs another pass. Taylor's chat feels a bit stilted. Um, Look for ways to make all the characters a bit more multi-dimensional. Taylor is the popular jerk, but is there anything that is surprising about her? What about her goes against the popular jerk trope? Likewise with Kevin, what's something that sets him apart from nerd? Also the interiority. Probably. Actually, I'm gonna put this up here. All right, that is The Weak and the Weary. It's a cool project. I like the magic kind of creeping into the world. I think there's a lot of really neat stuff going for it. Um, yeah, I think a lot of the challenges that I'm seeing, at least at this phase, are kind of at the scene layer, right? Where it's dialogue in scene, it's having goals and objectives in scene that can generate conflict. Those little bits, I think, need an extra look. But I think there's an interesting foundation here, and I'm really excited to see what this writer comes up with next. And best of luck on your writing and revisions. Great job.